Sorry that I'm running a little bit late. I've just had an incident with a giant unicorn falling off a bunk bed. So we are running slightly late, but we'll still get our 10 minutes in. So thank you for joining us again. We've got another 10-minute live. This week, tonight we're talking all about flexi-schooling with Natasha. So I'm really curious about this because it's something that I haven't really looked into much at all. So I'm going to invite her on. We're going to have our 10 minutes chat. And don't forget that all the other 10-minute chats are on our Instagram page, and a lot of them are getting put up on YouTube as well. So lots of different ways to access them. And just another plug, if you want to be on it, please get in touch with me. We would love to chat to you. I want to get to 100. We're just over a quarter of the way there. And after I get to 100, my next target is going to be 500. So I need as many people as possible to come and talk to me about home ed. But let's invite Natasha on and get going.
Hi.
Hiya.
Hiya.
How are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, it's been a busy day,
Can you
but
hear me?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a little bit laggy, so if I'm not paying attention, if it looks like I'm not paying attention, it just seems to be a little bit delayed, but hopefully it'll be okay once it gets going. So yeah, we're going to talk about flexi-schooling, which I know you've talked about in the various other places as well, so you're becoming a bit of an expert. I know there are some people that kind of have heard of flexi-schooling, and it's this kind of pipe dream that they don't really think is possible. Or they maybe tried it and not, their schools haven't been very willing. So I'm really looking forward to talk about it now. Before we start the timer though, can you just give a quick introduction about who you are, who you home educate, and anything about you? I'd like to know a little bit about your job, if that's okay, because it sounds super cool. And anything about you that you think is interesting for people.
Yeah, so I'm Natasha. I've got two daughters. We have Miriam, who is 5, so she'll be going into year 1 in September, and Heidi is just 3. In terms of my job, I'm a neonatal nurse, so I work in special care baby unit. I'm trained as a children's nurse, and for the last year, I've been working in special care baby unit at our local hospital, so looking after premature babies and poorly babies when they're first born. My husband's David. He is a teacher. He teaches music, so he teaches A-level music but also teaches piano and violin. And yeah, we've been flexi-schooling for 1 year now, and carrying on next year.
I know. Well, that's the thing I'm curious about, because I hear people do it in reception, but I'm excited to hear about the ability to carry it on. So I'm going to start the timer before I get carried away. So there we go. So tell us what flexi-schooling is, first of all, and then your journey into it.
Yeah, so I think flexi-schooling is obviously different for everybody that does it, but usually it's meant as kind of part-time school. So for us, how that looks for us is Miriam goes to school 2 days a week, and we home educate 3 days a week. Some people that flexi school, they will just do mornings at school and they'll have afternoons at home, and there are lots of different reasons for that, but we do 2 full days at school and 3 full days home educating at home. And yeah, in terms of kind of how we got into it, we always wanted to home educate, so that was always the plan, and we never really, like, my husband had never heard of flexi schooling, and I only had it as a kind of a vague idea at the back of my mind. So it kind of our education philosophy and just what we wanted to do with our children was to home educate full time, and that was always the plan. And I think as it got closer and it was kind of everyone around me was applying for school for their children, it felt quite scary and it felt like a big jump. And me and my husband, when we were talking about it, were like, oh, it would just be such a perfect kind of in between to do school but part-time, and to be able to not do 5 days a week, 6 hours a day in the 4 walls at school, but still get some of the benefits from school. Because I think how we saw it is not that school is just this awful place that's horrible for children, you know. Like our philosophy of education was to home educate. We wanted all the benefits you get from home education, but we kind of saw that there were benefits. If you choose to home educate full time, there are some benefits that you do lose from not being in the school system. And we were like, oh, it'd just be a great in between to get both of those benefits from school and homeschooling. But as you said, we kind of thought it was a pipe dream. And my husband, being a teacher, was like, school's never going to allow it. And lots of friends and family that are teachers were like, no, they were going to say no, no way will they allow it. And for me, I kind of felt like, because our plan was always to home educate full time, I wasn't kind of, I wouldn't, it was kind of, I wouldn't lose anything by just asking. I was like, if they say no, that's fine. We home educate full time, which is always what we planned. So I kind of always say to people, we started by just asking. I think one of the most helpful things that we did is we got in contact with our local elective home education officer, and we already knew from Facebook groups and stuff that she was really, really great and really supportive of home educators. And every single area in the UK has one. And so I got on the phone with her and said, look, this is what we want to do. How do I talk to the school about it? Is this something that schools around here have done before? Would you have any advice about that? And I think she gave me lots of good advice, but I think one of the real things that really helps the school is to suggest quite early on having a contract in place. So I went to the school basically saying we would have a contract that you can pull out of any time, I can pull out of any time, and we have these expectations of what I'll do at home and what the school will do for me. And it sounds a bit scary and a bit formal, but it actually just is, it's just a safeguard where the school, I think what the schools are scared of a bit is that I'm going to be this massive pain of a parent that makes their life harder. And I'm going to create a lot more work for the teaching staff. And they want a safety net, really, for if I was like that they can say, this isn't working, sorry, we're not going to continue that, this term. And actually we made that not even yearly, we made that term. They actually did do me a contract for the entire year of reception, but we looked at that at the end of each term. And it was always something that it was kind of, if there were problems, we had a meeting and we could sort that. There never was a problem. But I think that gives them that safety to not feel scared of it, because the school that we're flexi-schooling at has never done it before. So Miriam's the first child. So there are other local schools around that they knew had done it with other families. So it was a big kind of new thing for them. They just wanted that safety. So I think that's really helpful if you're wanting to approach a school to say, we would have this contract in place that would say X, Y, and Z, just so they feel a bit safer. So that's what we did.
I'm curious, have any of the parents copied you now that they've had the kind of first person try it? Or you still
not yet. I've had a few messages from people that said, the first year I was quite I tried to be a bit quiet about it, not really on Instagram but locally, because I didn't want the school to be freaked out if then 10 other parents contacted them and then say no to me and be like, that's it, we're cutting that off. But definitely people have been really interested in it and have spoken to me about it. And I don't know if people have asked the specific school that she's at, but there's definitely been a lot of interest, especially I think for children going into reception. So my daughter's summer born as well, so she was just 4 when school started. So I think that also for parents who actually plan to full-time school, like send their children full-time to school, a lot of parents just are uncomfortable with wanting to send them full-time at 4 when they're so young. So I think definitely among that group as well.
So it obviously went well if you're able to carry it on to year 1. So is it just the kind of same type of setup? Was there any debate from the school whether that should happen or not?
So they so initially it was only agreed for reception. So kind of in the end of the second term, I said to them, look, I'd really love this to carry on, it's working really well for us. what do you think? And the teachers basically said, it's been fantastic for us too, and it's been really great, and I don't see any reason why not. And because I had such great relationship with the reception teachers, they then passed that on to the year one teachers, so there wasn't the same fear about it. But obviously we then had, so initially I had a meeting with the head of early years and the head of the school, and then I then had to have a meeting with her reception teacher and the head of Key Stage 1 and the head of the school. And they did try, you know, they said, oh, how about doing 3 days a week this time, and then in year 2 she can do 4 days, and in year 3 she'll be full time. And I was like, no, that's not really what we want to do. And they were like, okay, that's fine. And they clearly expected that answer. They've been really, really wonderful to work with, and just, they've been great. Yeah, there was never any kind of questioning. It's a bit more tricky in year 1 because you suddenly, in early years, it's phonics and maths, and that's it. That's the only things that are compulsory. We did do topic work as well in the afternoon, but it wasn't compulsory, so they didn't worry about that. Whereas in year 1, they then add in, I think it's 7 more compulsory subjects. It's a lot. So instead of just doing phonics and maths, you've got English, maths, science, geography, history, which are the normal ones, and probably if we were choosing to home educate, all I would do. But when you're in the school system, they also do DT and computing and PSHE and PE and RE and all of that. So it's a little bit more complicated. So we'll just see how that goes this year, but at the moment it's working out fine. But
there's a few questions coming up. I noticed Emma asked about if the school has kind of said there's any benefits, and if your daughter's confused at all. And I guess that comes in, we're going to talk about the highs and lows of flexi-schooling, so I guess that might come in there. How has it gone for your daughter? And just kind of the ups and downs of it all.
So in terms of the school and their benefits, I don't know. I guess for them, they haven't really said anything. The only thing that really encouraged me is that at the end of year report that she got, her teacher put on saying, it's been a pleasure to do the flexi-schooling and pleasure to work with you. It's been wonderful. And that was so lovely for me to hear, because it's been wonderful for me to work with them, but for them to feel the same about me was really, really lovely. I think it does, you know, there must be some benefit to them in that they don't, you know, she's meeting all her targets, and they don't have her in school for 3 days. They just have to do like 2 days. I don't know what it'd be if she wasn't meeting her targets, and if they felt that pressure, because I think one of the things they said initially was, so there's no way to enroll a child part-time to a school, so she's enrolled full-time, and then the days she's absent are authorised absences. And so the whole of her kind of achievements and targets are on the school, and they're responsible for it. So it's worked fine because she's really good at reading, and she's on level for maths and things like that. But if she wasn't, I don't know how much pressure they would have in that situation. What is the other? Is my daughter confused? Want to go for more school days. So one of the things that's really, really wonderful with the school is in her contract, if there's anything going on the days that she's not in, that's like special. So for example, a few weeks ago before they broke up, they had an orchestra come in and do a performance and then do a workshop with their class, and that was on a day that she's usually at home. She's allowed to go into that. She's fully able to take kind of, you know, they do a couple of days a term, they do forest school, and again, if that's on a day that she isn't usually in, she's allowed to go in for that. And so in that sense, she's not really missing out. In terms of through the year, I mean, she's 5 and she changes her mind all the time. So there have been some times where she's like, I don't want to go to school. I want to home educate full time. I don't want to go to school anymore. And then other weeks where she's like, I want to go to school. I don't want to be at home anymore. So, you know, it's just the case that actually she's not old enough to make that decision. And yeah, I don't think she really feels like she doesn't really understand yet. I don't think that the other children are at school. And then when she does, she also realizes the benefits of being at home as well. I think she would struggle actually if she was there full time, and I see that in her in a way that she maybe can't quite see herself. But because she doesn't miss out on any of the school trips or any of the special days or events or the forest school or anything they do, it's kind of, it's win-win really. She doesn't, it's really, really lovely.
Like that relationship is key, isn't it? Because sounds like it has that organic like flow to it, that there's like you can change the system, the routine depending on what's going on. And so I imagine that's key for people who are maybe looking into it, that if they've can have that relationship with the school. It's, I mean, I find it fascinating, like I put my teacher head on and think, oh, how would I feel about it when I was a teacher? And then I think I was just thinking about today, the kind of, we don't get like sick days, there's no like childcare that's accessible, and if there was that flexibility, because we're not enemies of the school, so it's like if there was that flexibility, I think a lot more people would jump on that. Our time is already up, but I'm going to ask one more question. Just as I like it, to me, the like admin side of like the contracts and the having to remember school trips and PE days or whatever it might be, and the switch in between like the school run and not school run, and then you've got your younger daughter as well, and then work, and you kind of in all these different communities, which a lot of us are, but that kind of school community and the home ed community, is it ever exhausting for you, and how do you balance that out?
Yeah, I thought it was such a funny question when you sent that through to me, because I think I would be far more exhausted if I was home educating full time. I'm like, I say to my friends who I met, I'm like, when do you have time to plan? Like, when do you print out all the things that you need to do that week? Like, you would have to use like evenings and weekends, and I don't have to use any of that, because the days that she's at school, especially this year, so this year my daughter is 3, and so in September she's doing 15 hours at nursery on the same days that Miriam's at school, so I get 2 full days child free, and I get 6 hours each day to do all my planning and all the admin. You know, the only increase of admin that I have really with so I don't write the contract, the school wrote the contract, I just have to go in and sign it, and so they do require that I submit evidence every week for what I do at home. So that's the only thing that if we were home educating full time, I obviously wouldn't have to do, although our local authority does like you to submit annual evidence for what you're doing, but it really isn't that much really. It's, you know, it takes me less than an hour usually just to photograph everything that we've done and just say a little paragraph of what we've done, and because I get that 2 days where she's at school to have that time to do it, you know, I don't even know if I could, if I was home educating full time, I think I'd even find it hard to do my job, because I only do 1 shift a week, but to have her Monday to Friday at home educating her, and then I usually work the weekend because my husband works in the week, and then be working, and then I have one day off, and then I'm home educating again on the Monday. I think it's far less exhausting.
So
you know,
I'm like, oh, that sounds like I couldn't do that. It sounds so like my mind attacking all different places. So it definitely, like, I love the idea that we can, I mean, I know that the systems are not perfect, and I know that not everyone can figure this out, but like hearing stories of people finding the kind of right niche for their kids and for themselves as well, like I think it gives a lot of hope, especially when people get scared about some of the changes that might come up, but then, you know, there is a possibility that things could change the other way. I'm probably being idealistic, but I was really loved to hear all about the Flexi-Schooling, and I like hearing about the neonatal things. I know we can't talk about that too much because my first baby was in the special babies unit, and like I have a soft spot for people like you, so thank you very much for your work you do with the babies. But I know that people will be fine coming over to your page and reading more of your posts about it and talking to you about it, because I'm sure there'll be some people that will be thinking about doing it for this September as well and wanting advice on that. So is that okay if they head over there to chat to you?
Absolutely. Send me messages, and I'll answer all your questions. If I don't know if we got to all the questions in the chat, but absolutely, just message me, that's fine. I love talking about it. It's quite neat. You don't you're on YouTube as well, aren't you? I am on YouTube. I haven't posted a video for my plan is over the summer to do a load of videos and to kind of do updates on Flexi-Schooling and Q&As and stuff like that, but it's quite a lot to film and edit and upload, but so I'll try, but yeah, I'm on Instagram a bit more, but yeah, I'm definitely trying.
Thank you so much. Well. I can't believe, I always think, will we film the 10 minutes? And then it's so easy. So thank you for doing that little bit of extra time for us. Have a lovely evening, and thanks so much again, Natasha. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.